I was scrolling through LinkedIn this morning, and I swear, every other profile is some variation of prompt engineering expert.
Oh, absolutely. It's the big skill to have on your resume right now.
It is. It's this, like, badge of honor. I know the magic words. I can talk to the machine.
The modern day wizard, yeah.
Exactly. But then I read the research for today's deep dive, and honestly, I felt a little silly because the core message in this material, it's pretty brutal.
It is a bit of a cold splash of water.
It basically says, stop polishing your prompts. The era of the prompt wizard is over.
It's over, and we're moving, according to the source, from prompt-driven development to something they're calling spec-driven development.
Spec-driven development. I have to admit that sounds, I don't know, really corporate. Like we're going back to 50-page documents before we write any code.
No, don't worry. It's not about bureaucracy. It's about architecture. The idea is that good AI development isn't about the command you type. It's about the context you build around the AI. Think of it like this. You hire a genius developer, but you lock them in a room with no internet, no docs, nothing, and you just yell, "Build me a login page."
They're going to fail. Not because they aren't smart, but they have zero context.
Exactly. And that's what we've been doing with AI. We've been yelling into a void. Spec-driven development is about giving that genius the keys to the library.
Okay, I like that. So today we're going to unpack that. We're looking at the tools, these things called Model Context Protocols, or MCPs.
And background agents, which is where it gets really futuristic.
Right. And then we'll see what's left for prompting at the very end.
The last stand, as the source calls it.
So let's start with the tools. I mean, there's a new VS Code killer every week. Cursor, Windsurf, Warp. The list is huge. Do I need to switch my whole setup for this?
Well, the short answer is it's starting to matter less and less. The source calls this the Great Convergence.
The Great Convergence.
Yeah, functionally, they're all racing to the same place. They all have chat. They all have inline code changes, that same kind of magic, autocomplete.
So it's becoming a commodity.
Yeah.
But which model is actually the best right now?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? According to our source material, for quoting specifically, Anthropic's Claude models are at the top.
Claude. Sonnet and Opus.
Yep. They're just consistently better at reasoning through complex code structure. But, ChatGPT's Codex and Gemini Pro are still really solid. It's not a blowout.
Okay.
The source does give a special mention to one called Composer 1 inside of Cursor.
Composer 1. I haven't heard of that one.
It's their own proprietary model, and its big selling point is just speed. It's incredibly fast. And that actually leads to a really practical tip from the source that I think goes against every developer's instincts.
Which is?
Don't pick a model, just leave the setting on auto.
See, I hate that. I always switch it to the most powerful one. Auto feels like I'm getting the cheap version.
I know, we all do that. We think if we don't pick Opus or GPT-4, our hard question is going to go to some tiny model and we'll get garbage back. But the routing has gotten really smart. If you ask for a simple loop, it sends it to a fast, cheap model. You get an answer in milliseconds.
I guess you don't need a genius for a for loop.
Exactly. But if you ask it to refactor a whole microservice, the router knows. It calls in the heavy hitter, like Opus. You're actually saving time and money by trusting auto.
Okay, fine. I'm willing to try it. But there's one setting the source was very clear about.
Yeah.
You cannot leave this on default.
Oh, yeah. Privacy mode.
This seems huge.
It is. You have to go into your settings and turn privacy mode on.
Because otherwise...
Otherwise, your company's secret code, your proprietary algorithm, could end up as training data for the next public LLM.
Yeah, that's a career-limiting move right there. You don't want to accidentally open source your company's core IP.
Not a conversation you want to have with your boss.
Okay, so we've set up our tools. We're on auto. We're private. Let's get to the core of this. Spec-driven development. The goal is to get prompts down to a single line. That sounds impossible.
Right, because normally you're typing paragraphs of context.
Exactly.
But that's the whole point. The AI should already know everything before you even start typing. This is where the MCP stack comes in.
MCP, Model Context Protocol. Sounds technical. What is that? A plugin.
Think of it as giving the AI a login to your other tools. So instead of you copying and pasting text into the chat,
you connect the chat to the source.
You got it. And the first, most important connection is project management. Connecting the AI to your Jira or Asana or whatever you use.
Okay, but why? What's it going to do nag me about my deadlines?
Maybe. But it's about context. So let's say you have ticket 402. Normally, you copy the title, the description, the acceptance criteria.
And you always miss one little detail at the bottom.
Always. But in this world, you just type implement ticket 402, and that's it.
Because it can just read the ticket itself.
It reads the ticket, the user story, the comments from the product manager. It knows why you're building this, not just what you're building. It's a game changer.
That eliminates so much back and forth.
And it goes deeper. The next layer is your knowledge base. Connect it to Confluence or Notion.
So it knows our internal standards, like naming conventions and architecture patterns.
Exactly. But that brings up a problem you mentioned earlier, outdated information. An AI trained in 2023 doesn't know the new React syntax from this year.
Yeah, I've been burned by that. It confidently gives you code that's been deprecated for years.
So for that, you need the third pillar, documentation management. The source mentions a tool called Context.dev, but it's a whole category of tools.
Oh, what do they do?
They force the AI to index and prioritize the live current documentation for the frameworks you're using. So it uses the syntax for the version you have installed right now.
Oh, that's huge. That saves hours of debugging hallucinated code.
It really does. And then the last piece of the puzzle, especially for front-end folks, is connecting Figma.
I've tried uploading screenshots to an AI before.
Right.
It's fine. Gets the general idea, but the details are all wrong.
Because it's just looking at pixels. It's guessing. When you connect Figma with an MCP, the AI isn't looking at a picture. It's reading the raw data.
You mean it sees the actual hex codes for colors, the font sizes?
The Flexbox settings, the SVG data, everything. It's not guessing the margin is 10 pixels. It knows it's 10 pixels because it read the design file. That's how you get pixel-perfect code.
So if I have all of that, Jira, Confluence, LiveDocs, and Figma, the AI has basically been onboarded like a new senior developer.
Better than a senior developer. It has perfect instant recall of all of it. That is the spec in spec-driven development. You maintain the spec, not the prompts.
This is where it starts to feel like sci-fi. Next section in the notes, productivity while you sleep. We're talking about agents now, not just chatbots.
This is the big shift. A chatbot waits for your command. An agent gets a goal and goes to work on its own.
And the example here is quality assurance with a tool like Playwright.
Right. Now, a human can write Playwright scripts to test a website, standard stuff. But you can give an AI agent access to Playwright and a goal, like test the user login flow. It will then spin up a browser and physically, well, virtually, click around your site.
So it's trying to log in, trying to break things.
Exactly. It'll try bad passwords, weird characters, SQL injection,
Okay.
all the stuff you'd forget to test. And it can do it 1,000 times overnight for free.
Okay, but what if it finds a bug? Do I just wake up to a massive error log?
That would be the old way. The new workflow is active. You connect it to Sentry for error tracking and SNCC for security vulnerabilities.
Okay.
So the agent finds a bug. It then, and this is the crazy part, creates a new branch in your Git repo.
Don't say it. Does it write the fix?
It tries to write the fix. It will attempt to patch the code, commit it to the new branch, and then it opens a pull request for you.
You're kidding me. So I could wake up, open my laptop, and there's a PR waiting that says, fix security vulnerability in user off.
That's the promise. Your job isn't to write the code anymore. Your job is to review the code that was written for you while you slept.
Wow. I mean, I'm skeptical, but wow.
Of course, you have to review it carefully. It's not perfect. But it changes your whole morning from how do I fix this to is this fix correct?
It's a totally different mindset. So if the context does the work and the agents do the fixing, is prompt engineering completely dead?
Not dead. It's just evolving. It's changing from giving commands to using strategies.
And the source had two really cool strategies for this. The first was the meta prompt.
Right. The idea is simple. Don't write the prompt. Ask the AI to write the prompt for you.
Because it knows its own language better than we do.
Precisely. The example was unit tests. A developer might just type, write a unit test for this, and you get a basic test.
A happy path.
But with the meta prompt, you say, act as a prompt engineering expert. I need to generate a robust unit test for this function. Write me the perfect prompt to achieve that.
So it's like prompt inception.
It is. And what it gives you back is this huge, detailed prompt that covers mocking services, edge cases, the arrange act assert methodology, things you would skipped. You then run that prompt.
And you get a much better result. You're using its knowledge to improve your own input.
Exactly. It's a lever.
And the second technique was ask the expert. I really like this one.
This one might be the most powerful. Before you write any code, you tell the AI, Analyze this task and ask me any questions you have before you start.
It flips the whole dynamic. The AI interviews you.
It does. The story in the source was about a developer designing a new database schema. They thought it was simple, but they used this prompt first.
And what happened?
The AI came back with questions like, okay, but how are you handling GDPR for these user fields? What about data consistency with your Stripe integration? Have you considered internationalization for reporting?
Wow. Those are the things that come back to bite you 6 months down the line. The unknown unknowns.
Exactly. It acted like a senior consultant and forced the developer to think like an architect, not just a coder. It prevented future disasters before a single line of SQL was written.
That feels like the real value proposition right there. Moving from just a code generator to an actual architectural partner.
That's the whole summary of spec-driven development. You spend your time being an architect of context. You wire up Jira, Figma, the docs. You maintain the environment.
And the actual act of typing code becomes, well, a much smaller part of the job.
A smaller part. For years, the fear was that AI would replace developers. This makes it sound more like AI will promote developers.
That's a great way to put it. It takes the tedious stuff off your plate so you can focus on the big picture.
Even senior devs benefit. The AI catches things we all miss.
But I have to ask the question the source kind of hints at. If the AI is doing the QA, fixing the bugs, and helping design the system, where does the developer end and the reviewer begin?
That's the big provocative question, isn't it? If your job is mostly reviewing PRs that an agent generated, are you still a builder, or are you a manager of an AI workforce?
And are we okay with that? We became developers because we love to build things. That feeling of being in the zone, solving the puzzle.
It's a trade-off. Maybe you lose the feeling of laying each individual brick.
But you get to design and build a whole cathedral.
A whole cathedral, and much faster than before.
I like that. I'll admit I'd still miss laying a few bricks, though.
You can always do it on a side project. Turn off all the AI help.
Yeah, like driving a classic car with a manual transmission. Just for the feeling. Okay, so for everyone listening, here's your homework. The next task you get.
Try the Ask the Expert prompt.
Before you write a line of code, just ask it. What questions do you have for me before you begin? See what it comes up with.
It's a really humbling but incredibly valuable experience.
Thanks for this deep dive on the, well, not the death of the prompt, but maybe the dawn of the spec.
My pleasure. See you all next time.